Okay, good morning. We're here to talk about geological history. All right, geological history, it's done in two different ways as far as time. Time is either done as relative or absolute. All right, most geologists' work is done in relative time. Relative time means there's no numbers at all. So it's not telling me it's 500 million years ago. It's telling me that A happened before B, which happened before C. Okay, so if I'm looking at this one, my example for you is I am older than Colton Horrigan, who is older than Morgan Holsinger. All right? So that's relative. You don't know how much older I am than Colton. You don't know how much older Colton is of Morgan. So how can you tell relative time? First one, law of superposition. Oldest rocks are going to be at the bottom, and as you move upwards, you get progressively younger. So the top is where your youngest is. The bottom is where the oldest is. Next one, law of cross-cutting states that either if you have igneous intrusion that cuts through my sedimentary rocks, that has to be younger than the rocks it intrudes. Same thing as if I had a fault. The fault would be younger than the rocks it offsets. So let's try to put these in order. 1 being the oldest, and my highest number being the youngest. Let's go blue. So if I'm looking at this is my granite intrusion. The little marks around it are going to be where I have my contact metamorphism. So the igneous intrusion goes through, it's over 2,000 degrees Celsius. It may melt and incorporate some of the rocks here. As it moves further away from the igneous intrusion, there's enough heat that you can metamorphose some of this. So if I'm looking at my symbols, you have to be able to figure out what rock is what. You're back to your reference table. Remember when we did rocks and minerals? Page 6 and 7, well, page 7 gives me my rock symbols. So you're over here looking at your rock symbols. So if I look at my first one on the top, it's shale, then I have siltstone, sandstone, limestone. So I got to figure out what was my first thing that happened. On here, the bottom one we talked about earlier is going to be my oldest. So my limestone is my first thing that happened. My second thing that happened was I deposited my sand to make sandstone. Third thing that happened is I put my siltstone in. Now, remember, contact, so I know these all three had to be here before the igneous intrusion, because I had contact on all three. Next is my shale. Well, I could put 4 here next, or I could have my igneous intrusion as 4. I need you thinking. All right, so if it's granite, backtrack, when we did rocks, granite is what? It's intrusive. That means it's cooled deep underground. So usually you're going to go with your igneous intrusion as your last thing. Okay, my next thing I'm going to go as shale. Then I'm going to say my igneous intrusion was next. All right, that's going to help me figure out age-wise. Remember, if I have contact metamorphism on it, those rocks had to be there before your intrusion. So that's your law of cross-cutting. Law included fragments. So if I look at something like conglomerate, that's saying that the rocks that make up the conglomerate have to be older than the conglomerate itself. So I take rocks from other origins, so they have to be older, then I have to cement them together. So the cement is going to be younger than the rocks, but then it's got to be older than the conglomerate itself when it actually forms. The law of principal uniformitarianism is the present, what's going on right now. Weathering, erosion, uplift, faulting, folding, went on millions of years ago. So we look to see what's going on now to figure out what happened in the past. Next, unconformity. Unconforming means something's missing, something's not right. There's a gap, what we call a gap in the rock record. Okay, so get out your lab that is titled Interpreting Geological Events. Do me a favor, read it over quickly. If you need, pause the video. So if you read it, the purpose of doing the lab is trying to figure out, you have 4 different situations. You have to figure out, in the situation that you're given, the outcrop that you're given, what's the oldest? And then progressively, what got younger? And then what is your youngest event that occurred? So in the past, we found that C is probably the hardest one for the students to get. So I'm going to do C with you. We're going to, again, number 1 being the oldest, and progressively as the number gets higher, it's younger and younger and younger. So we're going to do data on C. We're looking for what is our oldest. Remember, oldest we're going to name as number 1. It's the first thing that happened. So oldest is on the bottom, law of superposition. So the bottom, here's the thing. These have been folded. You can tell that they got folded together because they're interfolded. I have sandstone, sandstone. That's the same sandstone over here. I have 2 layers underneath it. So my oldest is going to be my shale in the bottom right-hand corner. Above that is my conglomerate. Next to happen is my sandstone. Okay, which is the same as those. Next, shale. Followed by the limestone. Shale again. Then this sandstone. My next event that happened is they got folded. So you need to list all your events. So folding. That squiggly line is your unconformity. Something happened there. Something's missing. You eroded. Notice you don't have the tops of your anticlines. So number 9 is that line. That line is erosion. So anytime you see that squiggly line, you're going to write erosion. Okay, after number 9, the next thing that happened is, after erosion, I deposited more sand, built sandstone. Then I have limestone. One would think 12, granite, I'm good, I'm done. Here's the problem, remember, granite's intrusive, so it's deep underground. So I had to have something above that before the granite. So number 12, you don't know what rocks were deposited above. So we're going to say deposition of unknown rocks. Okay, lucky number 13 is my granite intrusion. Now I got rid of all the rocks above and down into granite. And we know granite is made of hard minerals, so it's more resistant. So I had to have massive erosion. I got rid of everything above, down into the granite, and into the limestone. So number 14, you're going to say massive erosion. Okay, now, when you guys go to write up your lab, I need the same thing. Your heading, what was the purpose of this? You're trying to figure out how events happen, in what order they happen in. Material-wise, you don't have any, your reference table, because you guys are going to need to know your symbols. Your reference table is the only material. Procedure, you're going to start looking at the outcrops. You're going to number them in order from 1 being the oldest, and the highest number is going to be the youngest. You're going to write up the data. We're going to write up the data for C together. You're going to have to do A, B, and D on your own. And yes, you are going to have to answer the questions. So you're going to type all of this up and you're going to email it to me. All right, I'll be back in a minute. Okay, now I'm going to do the data with you for the lab. All right, so remember, we're on interpreting geological events, which is lab 21. So we're going to go with the law of superposition. So law of superposition, a reminder, states the youngest, the most recent is on top. So for us, when we numbered it, that would be number 14. So I'm going to work from the most recent down, because the bottom is always going to be the oldest. Top, most recent. So our last one that we said was massive erosion. We got rid of all those rocks above the granite. We got into some of the granite and into the limestone. So massive erosion. Then we had 13, which was our igneous intrusion. Which, according to the symbol, is granite. Next, we had deposition of unknown rocks. Reminder, granite is intrusive, so I had to have rocks above. Our number 11 was limestone. Our number 10 was sandstone. Our number 9 was that squiggly line known as erosion. Number 8 was folding. Remember, you got to put all events, not just the rocks, all events. Prior to folding, we have the other sandstone. Prior to that, we had shale. Before that, we had limestone. Before limestone, we had shale. And before shale, we had sandstone. And before the sandstone, we had conglomerate. And before the conglomerate, we started with shale. So if I look, I should have 14 altogether. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is erosion. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I'm good with location C. Now, what I need you thinking is A and B are straightforward. D, the whole idea is you're looking here. You have the schist, and then you have your granite that intruded the schist. Alright, then you have that squiggly line. Squiggly line means erosion. Then you have these rocks, they're not horizontal. Remember, sedimentary rocks are deposited horizontal, so they got tilted. So once you have those rocks, you tilt them, you erode them, and then straight up. So your last thing always ends with erosion. Alright, good luck. Remember, write this up and share it with me. See you tomorrow.